Welcome to the real world. The Matrix, a place of suspended animation where computers have hooked you into this world with that attachment to that realm of the Matrix in your brain to make you believe that you were living when in fact you were hooked up to these computer networks as the battery power for the network. You know, they harvested babies and grew them in these suspended states in order to use the electricity in a human to power the computer network. It was a virtual world, and the computers had taken over and created a digital virtual world to sustain themselves using humans as batteries. And you know what they fed the humans, right? Liquefied dead people. Once you grew up in the Matrix and you died, they liquefy your body and feed it into the suspended people to grow them. So you'd eat dead people liquefied in order to grow up in the Matrix. But they kept you attached to that network to make you believe you were living. You had an imaginary world in your mind you were plugged into, and it was horrific to be you see, I had to unplug all that stuff and it snapped off of it, and then the Matrix flushed them out. And then the man says, welcome to the real world. Because he had been living in a world in his own mind. This is what the devil does to arrest you. Now, I'm going to show you something real fast here to understand how you're made, wonderfully and fearfully, to understand how the devil has detained you and what you got to do to be set free totally. You are designed as a spirit with a mind. You are a spirit with a soul living in a body. For your spirit to actually represent itself and to actually engage the physical world, it requires what you call a mind-brain interface. Your mind is spiritual, your brain is physical. The devil does not get into your brain. The devil must interdict you by fusing himself into your mind. Intrusion into your mind means infusion with your mind. And he contradicts or he interdicts the mind-brain interface. In other words, your mind couples to your brain and you do physical activities. The devil interrupts the interface by putting some kind of a being, a spirit being, into that linkage between your mind and your brain, and he begins to manipulate your thoughts. So you obey that spirit and not your own spirit. Since God's spirit is detached from your spirit through sin, the mind-brain interface between the human mind and the human brain is interdicted by a spirit's mind. And it's inspiring your activities and giving you what? Feelings that are not your own. That's why you believe you're a homosexual. It's the result of a mind-brain interface from a homosexual spirit. Appetites that you would normally have are coming from a demonic mind-brain interface. The interface is everything. Where the mind couples with the brain, that's where you're picking up the static. That's why you're seeing images and hearing words that are not your own. That's why you're feeling feelings that are not your own. There's still a demonic mind-brain interface, an interruption between you and your mind and God's mind that's not being actualized. The remedy is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 2. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God because they're what? But then it says what next? But we have the mind of Christ. The correct interface is the mind of Christ. Christ's mind in covenant with your mind, interfacing with your brain will make you normal. But if there's a demonic interruption, if there's a demonic infusion, if there's a demonic intrusion where you let something in, it interrupted that interface. You looked at something, you participated in something that was demonic, you meditated on something demonic, or you joined with somebody who was demonic, and they intruded into your mind and interfaced with your brain, and now you're thinking thoughts that didn't come from God. That's what has to be cleaned. That's why the Bible targets what? The mind. Be renewed where? In the spirit of your mind. Present your body as a sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is a reasonable service. Don't be conformed to this world. Don't set your affections and your mind on this world, because that's causing the intrusion, which leads to the infusion of unclean spirits. Get away from that. Sanctify yourself from the culprits, from the sources in the matrix that causes this infusion of unclean thoughts and spirits. The thought life is nasty. The thought life is dirty. The thought life is unclean because of the presence of unclean spirits. And guess what? Once they intrude and once they infuse, you become their possession, and they don't want to let your mind go. Because your mind, captivated by them, makes them able to explore and use their appetites to feed through you. Just like those things in that movie fed on the humans. As long as that boy's mind, Neo's mind, was infused and coupled to that machinery, he was a dormant person in a state of suspended animation, and the computers lived off of him. That's what you pick up with the devil. You pick up that infusion that came from an intrusion into your mind. The leftover residue of it will still plague you, and that's why you got the war for your mind.